Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. Happy birthday to me. Okay, let's get it over with. It's my birthday. 69. Bomber dude. I guess it's better than the alternative, as they always say. So I'm pretty, content with it, I guess you'd say, since there's not much you can do about it anyway. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about the 71, though. I've never ever cared how old I turned, but for some reasons, I've always had in my mind 70 was old. Well, it's just one day older than 69, really, when you get down to it. So, anyway, got a few things to cover with you today. I think you'll enjoy the vlog this morning. First thing I want to show you is a viewer gift that came last night on the cusp of my birthday. And it's a DVD set, Detectorists. It's a comical show set in the UK, and it's a scripted show, and it's funny. It's a sitcom basically, and so I'm watching it. You gotta, if it's your very first sitcom you've watched in the UK, you might have trouble understanding some of the humor. But unfortunately, I watched a lot of, Benny Hill and some of the others that I've seen over the years. So I kind of get most of their humor. Some of it, though, kind of goes over my head, I think. But anyway, this was sent to me from Rod Wentler in Berkeley. And Rod just is very complimentary. He's a very nice fella. And he just says he considers us friends, and I do too. So thank you very much, Rod. I really appreciate the birthday present. And I've already watched, I think, the first 3 episodes. I went ahead and started watching it last night. It's pretty cool. And since it's a thoughtful gift, since he knows I like metal detecting, so very nice. I appreciate that. Here's a picture of my grandkids that we took during Thanksgiving. And you know me and names. Here we go. On the girls, on the top row there, the girls, and this will be from right to left. They're in, backwards order from their age, I guess you'd say, if you were going in numerical order for, typical reading. So from right to left, we've got Kaylee. Then we have Mary Ellen. Kaylee is Lisa's daughter. Lisa's my oldest daughter. So Kaylee's the first one. Then Mary Ellen, and that's JR's daughter. Then Ashlyn, that's also Lisa's daughter. Then Rebecca, which is JR's daughter again. So those are the 4 daughters. And then on the bottom row there, on the far right, that's Tyler. He's the oldest boy. Tyler is a swimmer. He's also Lisa's son, so that's Lisa's 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. And then on the far end of the bench on the left, that's Isaac. He's next, and that's JR's son, so he's got 2 girls and a boy also. And then the 2 boys sitting on either side of Sue and I are Trinian is the oldest one, and Leighton is the younger one. And you've seen them several times in the videos in the past. Isaac was in a video before making a bow and a couple other things, I think, working on his 4-wheeler or something. Tyler, I don't think's ever appeared in a video. Tyler is a diver for his high school team. And in fact, he's the only diver on his high school team, which is kind of unusual. They have a swimming team, I guess, but he's the only diver. And the dogs are, Bella is the black and white, and Tucker is the solid brown there. So that kind of gives you a rundown on who's who. And of course, that's taken right there in the field, looking out, almost out, directly out from the shop, but a little bit further toward the pond down that way. Anyway, that's that. The title says I found some stuff, so I thought I'd just go ahead and show you what I found. Nothing earth-shattering, but at least something worth mentioning, I think. This first one, it's kind of a, what is it? And I had my idea of what it is, and I looked it up, what I thought it was, and I think I'm right. But I'll give you a second to look at it and see if you can imagine what it is. I can tell you that it's broke off right there. And what I imagined it was, and it's copper or brass, it's probably brass. What I imagined it was is a riding spur. And like the bottom one you would put under your heel there or right in front of your heel, and the top one would strap over the top of your boot, and this would go around the back of the boot. This would go around the back of the heel, and then the spur would come off of that, and there'd be another one of these matching on the other side, you know. So this is just a small piece of it. And so when I looked it up, you know, early 1900s riding spurs, sure enough, I found some pictures that match it almost exactly. So I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Not 100% sure. If anybody else has a better idea, if you think it's something else, let me know. But this really does look just like the spur in the picture that I found. I meant to show you that picture this morning and got busy and forgot. So anyway, that's what I think it is. Then I found, another shotgun shell. What's weird is I found this was the very last thing I found. Typically, I find these things left and right, and this was the last one I found, and it's a UMC company, and I can't tell which. They have several varieties. They have like New Club, which is the main one I found. I really think that's the only one I found. But they also have a Nitro Club and some other ones. This one I can read the word club, but I can't read what's in front of it. So I'm going to assume it's a New Club. It's a 10 gauge. And that makes it right around the turn of the century, right around 1900. It could be in the 1890s. It could also be in the very early 1900s, like 1905 or something, you know. So it's very old, over 100 years old. Now, this is the weirdest thing I found so far that's got me really curious as to what's going on here. This is just a rock. And I don't typically find rocks that set off the metal detector. Now, you might say, well, it's a piece of melted metal. I don't think so. This does not look like a piece of melted metal. It looks like a rock. I don't know if the camera is going to focus on that. Probably too close to focus. I don't know. But anyway, it really just looks like a rock. And I mean, I don't know of anything else it could be. And sure enough, the metal detector sets it off. Let me just, first of all, show you just a piece of metal. So here's just a piece of metal. Okay? Now this is not as sensitive. So you get closer. There it is. If this was melted metal, it'd be just as sensitive as that piece of metal. This takes more to make it, you got to get it right touching it before it goes off. So that makes me wonder, they did mine silver here on this farm years ago. Could this be a piece of silver ore, or could this be, a piece of lead ore maybe, or maybe it's got a gold nugget in it. I doubt it's gold, because that would even be more reactive, I have a feeling, unless it's really, really, really tiny, which it could be. But anyway, it's the first rock that I found that reacts to the metal detector. So I have not found that before. So I'm thinking I might crush this and pan it out and see if I see any metal in there. But I really don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'm going to do it. Okay, then I found, I think maybe I don't know which way I want to do this. I guess I'll show you the little video clip first, and then I'll show you what I found. So here's the video clip. Well, my friends, I'm back here by this pond metal detecting. You might recall that there used to be a house sitting on this hill about right up in there somewhere. It's hard to say exactly where it was. It might have been just a little further up the hill. I just wanted to show you that because I have a feeling somebody was sitting on the front porch of that house
shooting down this hill into this, what I think was their garden. I think this was their garden spot. And I'm finding lots of little, small caliber rifle balls in here, lead balls. And I have a feeling they were shooting dinner, shooting rabbits or whatever down here in the garden, protecting their garden from the critters. And that's why I'm finding so many of these small caliber rifle balls. At least that's my best guess. Not that far of a shot. It might look further than you think there. It might be 40 yards, 50 yards at the most.
Okay, so when I say I found a bunch, I really did find a bunch. I don't know if I can show them to you in a bunch. It's hard to get it up there where you can see it. They want to roll off my hand, But anyway, there's a bunch of them there. I found five little ones and then one larger one. This one here is roughly a 45 caliber. These other ones are approximately 35 caliber. So a 30 caliber, I would call that a squirrel gun back in the old days, a squirrel gun. And I bet more than likely they're from a rifle rather than a pistol. And I mean, it could be a pistol, it's possible. But I can't imagine somebody shooting that distance. And I kind of think that's the reason they're all in the ground right there, is because somebody was up on that hill shooting down into the dirt. And I imagine for sure they were probably shooting varmints out of their garden. And, and the other reason I think that's a garden spot is because I found lots of pieces of garden tools in that spot, like hose and things like that. So I'm 90% sure that was their garden spot. And all these little round balls make me even think that much more. You got to realize things were different back then. They didn't have a Walmart, and pretty much everything they had to take care of it, and they didn't want varmints in their gardens back then. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if that's not exactly how that occurred. But then again, maybe you got a better idea. Let's see. Then I found, and the best thing I found, I guess, or at least to me it's the best thing, was an Indian head penny. Let me just show you the video first, and then we'll show you the details.
Thought I'd show you where I found the 1903 Indian head penny. You see this big rock? Well, it came out of that area right in here. And I dug there for a very long time trying to find that Indian head penny. I went down a good foot and finally found it. It was a very, very weak signal. I assume it must have been sitting on its edge or something, but it was down at least a foot deep. Now, what's significant about where I found this is that it's at the end of the garden here, and the house was up there, and there's where the pond is, as you can see. And then if you get right here, over this hill, right over there, is where the other house was. So this is kind of on that path. Right up on top of this hill, just a little ways, about 30 yards, is where I found the 1905 solid silver barber dime. So this may have been a traffic area through here, and I have searched it several times, haven't found anything else, but you never know. I'm going to have to keep looking, get the grass cut really short, and try some more.
So, I'll show you this first. You can't see it this way, but this is the Indian head penny. Now, this is the most corroded one I've found. Now, it looks like it was dropped fairly new. I mean, like it doesn't have a lot of wear on it, but it is corroded just from being in the ground. It's more corroded than it is worn. The wear on it is almost none. You can even read the word Liberty in the headband. But here's some close-ups of it. So you can see how corroded it is. But again, you can see the little detail, all the little dashes or whatever you call that, the filigree or whatever that stuff is around the outer edge. And then you can see the 1903 there. And if you look at the headband, you can see the word Liberty. And then, of course, the reverse was even more corroded. But you can see 1 cent there, and there's a shield above it. above the 1 cent. So for me, that's pretty cool. I really like finding the old coins like that back there, especially around those old houses. So it's just one more little piece of the puzzle about their lives. Well, moving on, I did make a little bit of progress. Let me make sure I've shown you everything I was going to show you. Well, I'll just show you this just for grins. But, I mean, I found a lot of other stuff, but it's kind of ironic that I found 2 of these broken off square nuts. So I don't think they went to the same thing, and I didn't really find them close to each other, so they probably went to something entirely different. One of them's much smaller than the other one. But that's the kind of stuff you find back there all the time. It's just like that. And I found lots of other metal pieces. I did find another one of those, I don't know what you call it, teeth off of a spring harrow. I found another one of those teeth or tooth, a tooth off of a spring harrow. And it was broken half. So, I'm sure that's how it got lost in the ground. It broke in half. Okay, well then on the Bobcat, I did make a little progress yesterday. I did compress the track, and what you have to do is you have to push the track together. And trust me, you can't go out there with your hand and push it together. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But you got to squeeze the grease out of it. When you pump it full of grease, that's what expands the track out and keeps the track tight. So to get it loose enough to get the track off, you've got to push it back in and get the grease to come out. Well, there's no easy way to do that, so I had a big long pry bar, and I was prying against the Bobcat and prying the track in, and I squeezed out quite a bit of grease, and I was able to get it all the way in, I think. Then I had Sue try to rotate it while I tried to pry it off of the wheel, and I couldn't get it to pry off. So it's still in its place, if you will. So I guess I'll have to have JR come over, and we'll have to do a collaboration video. Anyway, I'm going to have to get some help to get that track off of there. Like I told you, you're talking heavy duty. This is not lightweight stuff at all. It's really heavy, really, really heavy. I don't think I could even begin to pick the track up. I mean, it's crazy heavy. I could pick up like one end of it maybe and get it a foot off the ground if I'm lucky, but that'd be about it. I mean, it's heavy. Then last night, and I haven't even looked at this yet, I just left it, I opened the box just to see what it was, and here it is, and I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. But it is a solar charger. I did notice that these are a bunch of magnets. I'm going to pull them out of here real quick. So, I'm not exactly sure why it came with all these magnets, but I'm sure there's a good reason. Came with cords for plugging into a cigarette lighter and also attaching to the battery itself. And of course, it's got its own cord here on the solar panel itself. And here's the solar panel. So I'm going to hook that up to my Ranger and see if we can't solve all the charging issues. And as I told you, this is a heavy duty one. This is a 20-watt solar panel. As solar panels go, that's not very powerful, but as a trickle charger goes, it is really powerful. Like most of these are in the 7.5, watt range. I mean, they're really lightweight. So I wanted to get a heavy duty one to keep up, and this 20 watt ought to do that, I think. Anyway, I think it'll work just fine. I think it's, according to everything I've read, it's supposed to be weatherproof already. I'm a little weirded out by the fact that it looks like it's got leather around here, which is kind of weird. It really does look like leather, too. It doesn't look like it's plastic. It may just be some plastic or something. But it honestly looks like leather. I guess it's a bumper to keep it from getting cracked on the edges. But I'll find some way to mount this on top of the Ranger, and we'll see how it goes. I hope it works. I think it's worth a try. If it does work out well, and if it works, if I'm feel like I can trust this thing, I'll put it on the products I use page later on. It was in the $75 range, and for me, that's cheap enough if it actually works. I mean, compared to the amount of work it takes to fix that stator and the cost on top of it, it's well worth the $75. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Lots of happy birthday wishes. David Tharp was the first one. I'm not going to read all the happy birthdays, but then we had Terry Anth, Tom Armstrong, Bruce Ducker, Jarvis Wilkins, Rod Wintler, Kathy Voles, and Bill Mumbo says happy birthday also. Let's see. He says, I'm the undefeated world artistic clamping champion. You have to get pretty creative sometimes on your clamping. I'm seriously telling you. Especially when you get into those weird rounded instruments like that. I forget even what you call it now. That sitar or something like that came from India. That thing was crazy hard to clamp. And then these ovation guitars with the round backs, they're hard to clamp too, trust me. So anyway, you do have to get kind of creative. Michael 2X, Ronald Lewis, and Bruce Hines. Pretty much everybody wishing happy birthday. Thank you all. And then Christia Thomason was the first one after we went live. And then Jeff Puris, Gotta Fly Lee, Chris Morris, Joey Dano Guitars, and Charlie Rostron. I'm just reading some of these to make sure I'm not missing a comment or something that you want me to cover here. Blair Turner. Old age is 20 years older than you are. Yeah, that's kind of the way you look at it, I guess, once you get old. Anyway, Larry, seriously, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but it's the truth. I don't want to lie to you. When I was like 18, I couldn't even imagine being 39. And I'm not kidding. I'd say, there's no way I'll never even make it to 35, Probably it was partly because of the way I was always doing crazy stuff, It was probably the reason. But I never ever pictured myself being this old. Never, not even close. And it just sneaks up on you. Like you don't even know what happened, and there you are. Blair Turner, Walt Willard, Larry Fisher, Marigold Time, James Kopp, Ben Boyd, Meteorite. Oh, I don't think so. It doesn't seem to be metallic in the outward appearance, and most meteorites, I think they do, most of them. And it's very light. It's not heavy at all. You'd think, especially if it was metal, it'd be pretty heavy. It's got a teeny bit of weight to it, but it ain't got much weight to it. I really don't know what that is. It's got me floored. And I'm like 99.9% sure it's not a piece of melted metal. I mean, I'm just, for two reasons. Number one, it don't look like it. And number two, it don't act like it on the metal detector and on that probe. The probe, typically, this probe will sound off when you get, watch, it'll sound off when you get close. See? This don't do that. Doesn't sound off till you touch it. And other rocks, it don't do that. I mean, you can do it to your hand, it don't do that, see? It's got to be metal. So there's something there. I really don't know what it is. And it's got me really curious, and I might be crushing that to find out what it is. I'm going to crush that sucker. I have never found a piece like that before that's done that. So it's really got me curious. And after I crush it, I'll find out that it was a meteorite, and it was worth $10,000, and now I crushed it. That's my typical luck. Tom Armstrong. Betting the stone is magnetic. Have found ones like. I don't think this is going to be magnetic. Well, heck, we got a whole bunch of magnets here. I really don't think it's going to be magnetic. That's my first guess because it don't seem like it, but it might be. So let's see. Oh, I think it is. I think you're right. Yeah, it is. Very slightly magnetic. Well, thanks for ruining my dreams about gold and silver. Anyway, it is slightly magnetic. I didn't think it would be because it didn't feel like iron to me, you know. Iron's generally heavy, but this thing is very light. So there must be a really, good tight spot there where the iron's all together for it to do what it's doing, or whatever that stuff is. Maybe it's just magnetite. I don't know. But anyway. Yep, you're right. It's magnetic. Ben Boyd, don't crush the meteorite. Well, I don't think it's a meteorite. But anyway, Joseph Supley, great finds. And let's see, Wavy Gravy is a fellow Sagittarius. Happy birthday. You're still just a kid. I have neckties older than you. Well, I got, I think I got socks and underwear almost the same age. Let's see. That's TMI, right? Too much information. Larry Fisher. As long as the Ranger charging system is not shorted to ground, it may charge by solar, maybe by why battery was dead. Yeah, I don't think it's shorted to ground. It seems to hold charge for several days after I charge it up, and it'll start it a bunch of times. So all that seems to be okay. It's just that it goes down over time, And I, like if I'm using the headlights, of course, that sucks the battery down, and I have been using it quite a bit lately in the dark time, in the mornings and in the evenings, going out for the hunting and stuff. So anyway, I don't know, but I agree with you. I know to look for that kind of thing. I'm going to try to check to see if there's some kind of a draw on it after I get it all hooked up. Paul Akers, is there a difference between a tall bridge and a short saddle, or a short saddle and a tall bridge? Does it matter as far as the sound when the action is correct with each? Let's see. Do I have a preference on that? I guess, first of all, I guess it depends on what you're talking about. Are we talking about a guitar, I assume? Are we talking about a mandolin? Because on a mandolin, I would probably rather have a taller bridge, and not such a big saddle. But then again, I don't really know. I mean, either way, if it's done well, either way, I'll probably be fine. On a guitar, I'd probably rather have a little bit taller bridge. I don't like to see a whole lot of saddle sticking out of a guitar, because when you do, it just acts more like a lever. And the taller that lever is, the harder it's pushing and the more it's going to crack your bridge. So I guess I would prefer, if I had a choice there, to make it a little taller bridge, and the saddle's going to be the same height anyway. I mean, it's going to end at the same place. But I think I'd rather have a little taller bridge, because you'll be sturdier, and it'll... in terms of sound, either way is not great, to be honest with you. If it's real tall, either way is not great, because once you get it real tall, it starts to sound like you're playing in a barrel. So everything's got its point of diminishing return, and that's about all I can tell you, because there's no black and white numbers. I can't just say, well, you can only be this tall. There's just no numbers that you can give out on something like this. Ronald Lewis, do you think a carpet seamer would work for a bridge heater? Probably. Yeah, I know what that is. I don't know how hot they get, though. I'm not that familiar with them. You don't want it crazy hot. In the 400-degree range is plenty hot. You get it much hotter than that, you start to burn your wood and stuff. Even at 400 and something, you'll burn your wood if you're not careful. You can't just leave it on there and walk away. You got to pay attention to it. I think it'll probably work, though. Gotta Fly Lee says, don't crush it, smelt it. Yeah, well, that might work. I think rock doesn't like to smelt too much, though. It usually will either burst into pieces or just sit there and look at you, one of the two. It takes a lot to smelt a rock, if it is rock, which I think it is. I'm 99% sure it is. Stephen Hatfield, what is your opinion on solid wood mandolin bridges? So in other words, solid. Yeah. It depends on the mandolin again. I don't think I care for them all that much on your typical A and F style mandolins. There's a lot of those flat top mandolins and the big bowl back mandolins and things like that. The what I'm going to call the outsider mandolins, because that's just not what I'm into. And I realize if that's what you're into, these aren't outsider mandolins. But the things that are out on the fringe, if you're talking about your typical A style, your typical F style, then I would prefer to see the adjustable bridge on there. Not that you can't make a good sounding one with a solid bridge. I'm sure you could. But the problem is that you typically need to adjust them over time, and it's just not that great to have a solid one on that type of mandolin, in my opinion. I think you can make it sound fine, though. Mark Nasdam, happy birthday. Thank you, Mark. We'll be at Dickie's Barbecue tonight, Mark, so you might as well show up there and have Yolanda do some singing. There's Yolanda as the next one. And so, Yolanda, you might as well be there and do some singing this evening. Kevin O'Neill. Non-iron or metallic meteorites are called stonies. Okay. I know other things that were called stonies back in the 70s, too. Or maybe the 60s. Mark Nasm again. Dickie's Barbecue Party. Is there going to be a party at Dickie's? I wasn't even planning on mentioning my birthday at Dickie's, but, I have a feeling it's already been mentioned here. John Erlinson says, hey, you made 100K. And I say, John, where have you been? We got the plaque on the wall, man. And we opened that here on the channel. Okay, Mark says he will have her there. Well, guys, I guess that's going to be about it. Thank you all for celebrating my birthday with me this morning. Got 122 viewers. And hope you enjoyed seeing a few of the things that I found back there. I might go back and try to find some more. Maybe right after I get the solar thing mounted up to my Ranger, because I'll probably get that mounted first. It's pretty chilly out there, though. It's been like in the low 20s again last night. And that means I'm burning a lot of firewood. And so probably by tomorrow, at least by tomorrow, I'll have to go cut another load. It's crazy. That big load that I cut on, when did I do that? Saturday? Trying to remember when I did it now. But anyway, I'll have to go do it again. So anyway, thanks to everybody for wishing me the happy birthdays. We will see you tomorrow.